All right. Well, hello, everyone. I am Charlie Willis.
I'm Ronald Willis.
And we're with First Focus Faith. And we are here to equip, empower, and evoke a transformational walk into wellness. And we do that via coaching, counseling, and consulting. Thank you for logging into our live Facebook video feed and YouTube feed for RCRC. This is actually the Relationship Connection with Ronald and Charlie. And we are here 3 Saturdays of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern to discuss topics of the relationship, things that we all may have had some challenges with, and things that we all have kind of conquered, so to speak. So before we get into today's topic, I just want to check and make sure we are streaming live with no issues.
Yes, definitely no issues. I think a couple of them we had some minor issues going on.
Yes, something didn't want us to get the word out.
I think we're good today though.
I hope so. Let's see.
Our speed is good.
Okay.
Our clarity is good. I'm looking good. Charlie, see that?
Here
I
we
was
go.
diving in for the compliment to Charlie, and what I get. I was gonna say Charlie's looking beautiful, but I said Charlie, and then what did you do? See, you didn't want yours.
No, that wasn't true.
Yeah.
I was diving in for something else.
Yeah, when I said I'm looking good, seems like we have a problem with Ron Willis.
Okay, I'm just testing our feed here.
Testing our feed.
All right, let's see. Okay, we're good. Ron Willis. Anyway, okay, all right, everything looks good. Okay, so let's get into it and let's discuss our topic here today. So if you see the title.
Yeah, what is that title?
The title.
Breathe.
So
sometimes you don't like when I breathe. I just thought about that.
No, you can breathe all you want.
Sometimes Charlie, like, why are you breathing?
All right, let's just go. All right. So we're talking about equipping your children to making you number 4 in your relationship. Now
that doesn't sound good.
I know it doesn't sound good.
Number 4,
but yeah,
it's 1, 2, and 3.
It is good. It is good. So we're going to talk about what that actually is, what it looks like, and if it's going on in your relationship. Okay, and where your children stack in your relationship.
Right.
Okay.
So they should be somewhere in that sequence, correct?
Right. They should be somewhere in that sequence. Video's not want to share here.
Right.
All right. I think I got it now. Okay. Yep. Didn't want to share. Okay.
Sharing now.
Sharing is caring too. Also.
It is.
Yes. All right, so we're just waiting for, I'm just trying to get everything situated. We're good now. Our public feed. All right, sorry that took a little bit longer than need to be also. So anyway, I am a mental health therapist. Ronald is a marriage and family therapist. And like I said, we're here 3 Saturdays out of the month to talk to you about hot topics, relationship topics. And today we're talking about equipping your children to making them number 4 in your relationship. And actually what that is.
Why is this important?
Why is it important?
Yeah, why is it important to do that?
It's important. Well, first, let's talk about what it is. They don't even know what it is.
What is it?
Basically, what we're talking about, and Ron explains it a lot better to me. I'll let him get into details about it. But what it is it's actually where you are, if we can use the word prioritization, in your adult children's life. Where do you stand now that they are an adult, or where should you stand? Okay. So Ronald, go ahead and tell us all about it.
Well, I guess it's a transition that as parents you go through, and you should go through, and you should have an understanding that you need to go through this shift. And And we're talking about hitting a goal of 4, but before you become a 4, you're number 1. And number 1 is when the child is an infant, and they look at you, and for the child, you're number 1.
Okay.
They trust everything you say. They believe everything that you say, and they, really don't know the difference. Okay, and rightfully so, because they depend on you for survival. So, at this point in their life, they don't even know God. So naturally, if they don't know God and they know you, then you should be number 1. Okay. So, however, you should not stay there. Okay? And you want to make this transition. You want to move for number 1. So there's a period in their life when you want to introduce them to God. Okay. And, this is why for me, and some people, kind of don't have this belief. For me, they should definitely be in church, because you want to introduce your kids to God, because you don't want to stay number 1. You actually want to move to being number 2. And then God is number 1 in their lives.
Okay. So there's an order that you're talking about right now, right? A sequence.
That is correct.
Okay.
Right.
So
you start off being number 1.
All right.
And you have an understanding that I'm not going to stay to being number 1.
Okay. Before we even get that, what does that look like, being number 1 child's life?
Well, earlier I said it's
growing up from an infant to
doing the infant, and I would say it's no certain age,
okay,
right? But you as a parent, you understand that I cannot stay number 1 for my child,
right?
Okay, that has to be a transition that moves me from number 1 to number 2.
Okay, now, like you said, even that's basically what children. You're it, right?
Right. And a lot of times, the parent will stay number 1.
He'll stay number 1, even into adulthood.
Have
seen that.
40 years old, they still living in your home.
Not necessarily talking about living in the home.
They still living in your home.
Because they can be living out of the home.
They can live outside home, but they still need you to survive. That's the key.
Yeah, but that's still not exactly where I am going.
Go for it, young lady.
So they can live outside of, still see you as number 1. Okay. They can still put, like for example, when someone gets married, and they could still actually put their mother before their spouse.
Right. My mom number 1.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about.
This is truth, because we have had some people say that, I ain't never heard them say dad number 1. But they'll say,
I don't even know what dad is.
Yeah, but they'll say, but my mama number 1.
Yeah, I don't even know what
over my spouse.
Right.
And the true essence of that statement is very, very dysfunctional. It is, because when you are married, right, you're supposed to be dependent on your spouse to provide some of your needs and take care of you, and and this is the person you can share your deepest darkest.
Right.
I can't share all my secrets with my mom. No, she don't know everything.
No.
Some things I'm not gonna tell her.
Right.
Or my dad.
Right.
But my spouse,
okay,
I want to tell her everything.
Okay, so you talked about God. Did we finish up how that looks? And we did. We talked about
some of the elements. You gotta have God in your home.
Okay.
Right.
We're back at number 1.
Yeah, you introducing your child to God, so you gotta have God in your home. You also want to actively attend church, and then you want your child to see the God in you.
That's big. That's major.
Right.
Especially when they're young and it's influential. Sometimes,
and
not everybody grew up with that.
Right. Because I did not.
Yeah.
I did not. I had some foundations of it, because my grandmother forced me and made me and whipped me, and she did all these things to me, so I go to church. No, I'm playing. She did enforce that I go to church.
Okay.
She did.
Okay.
So there was no whipping.
I'm glad to hear that.
You're gonna get a beating, you don't go to church.
Okay. So
but as a child growing up, you don't understand that. Okay. But the mindset for the parents to understand that I am trying to make this transition where where my child is going to move me to number 2 and that allow God to be number 1 in their lives.
Right. Okay. So even in number 2 spot. So let's move on down.
Right.
Bounce back to number 2, the spouse.
Okay.
I'll give an experience with me how weird that felt because
you talk about being number 3. It could be number 2.
No, when
I got God in their life.
Right. When I thought maybe I was
Yeah.
number 2.
Right.
My son used to. He's
Always
married
call
now.
Ask you for advice.
No, he'd call me on Mother's Day or some nice thing, or he even do Valentine's Day. He used to do stuff like that and whatnot.
After they got married,
I didn't hear from him. Like,
so how did that make you feel?
He did. I did hear from him that day, but it was like late.
Yeah, you weren't first.
I wasn't.
You shouldn't be first. But
I wasn't first. It felt weird because I always expected to hear. My son would always call me.
First thing.
On those special occasions, and now he's married and I'm replaced.
That's right.
So it was something accepting and
think
glad,
about
but it was weird.
I want you to think of how powerful it would be if you was aware and had understanding of this transition that you got to go through.
Right.
You can accept it a lot better.
Yes.
But when it comes like that,
right,
and you don't have an understanding, hey, I need to make this shift, not only for me, but for my child also, then you can deal with it a lot better. I'm not saying it's not going to may have some effect on you when you make that transition, but you have an understanding to allow you to deal with it a lot better.
Okay. All right. So now go ahead and explain if you didn't about the cleave. That
okay,
some may not know.
So the next step, you introduce your child to God because you have an understanding that I got to make this transition from 1 to 2. Okay. Now you want to have an understanding I got to make this transition from 2 to 3. Okay. And 2 to 3 is related to the Bible in Genesis 2:24, where it says a man, should leave his mother and father, and they cleave and connect, with a woman.
Right.
Right. So that means that the man and the woman are supposed to unite together and they leave their mother and father.
Right. Right.
Which ultimately puts the parent transition from 2 to 3.
So now the parent,
right,
in some homes was number 1 in the child's life, especially from rearing, and they've been moved. They've taught them a relationship with God, and some, having grown up with God, that was it. But then now they're married. And now they're out of your home. Right. Now spouse.
Right. And you should be doing things in the home
to prepare
them for this transition.
Right.
You can, if you can understand it, you can even talk about this transition to them so they have an understanding exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. Okay, because the other thing that you should be doing, which is probably the most powerful technique, be an example of what you're talking about. Your own relationship should be a reflection of what a relationship looks like, what it feels like. How should you be functioning in a relationship that grows and mature? How you have a relationship with God in it and stuff. Right. Your relationship should be a reflection of that, because kids, they tend to do more of what they see than what they hear. Now, if you talk it and you don't really walk it, or you don't act it out in your lives and stuff, then what you're saying, they may not be receiving that like you want them to receive it.
Okay.
So you want to be an example of what you're talking about.
Okay. So now here comes number 3. Now, so I thought I was number 3. Yeah. Now your children, or my child, has had children.
Okay. So that means you move again.
I've moved again.
Yeah. And now you're going to be number 4.
Now you'll be number 4.
Right. Because naturally their kids should come before you.
Right.
Right. And it may not even feel good. Right. But it's for their good. And that's more important about how you feel about it, is what you're doing for your child. So you equipping them and empower them, to be functional in a relationship, and to be able to lead the home and still everybody feel good about it. Yeah. You may not feel wholeheartedly good about it, because all of a sudden you've been with your child for so many years, and now they leave the home. Right. Because you're going to feel certain ways about that. However, you still should feel good about the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is equipping them to empower them so that they have their own family and they repeat the cycle of what's been done for them, for their family.
Yes. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and imagine it becomes a generational thing. Each cycle, is repeating what was previously done in their lives to their family, and then they do the same thing for their kids and stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happens.
Because a lot of times we talk about generation things happen. We're talking about generation of curse. We always make the generation negative.
Oh, wow, that is powerful.
Yeah,
we do. Why do we make the generation negative? I guess the positive aspect of it is talking about what you can leave for your children, but not only what you can leave, what you can do right now. What
you can give?
What you can, yeah. And we're not talking about monetary.
We're not talking about money. We're not talking about house, car,
all that stuff.
Yeah,
but what you can actually impart in your children that will sustain them to grow up, have their own lives, to have their own families, and
that should be a proud moment for any parent to see that their kids is all having their own family. They're take care of themselves. They're being very independent and stuff. Because your goal in this process is to be number 4. That's your goal.
Your goal.
That's your goal, because
goal to number 4.
Yeah, your goal should be number 4. If you 3, 2, or even 1, then that's some conversation. Things need to be done to change that. Reality is dysfunctional, and if you can look at how the Bible talks about a man leaves his mother and father. Not stay there. Don't leave.
I'm gonna stay and hang around.
I'm gonna stay and hang around because it's comfortable here. I don't have to pay any bills or whatever the case may be. But that is not what the Bible is telling us to do and stuff.
Okay.
Unless you got some other purpose outside of that.
Okay.
Which is rarity for somebody to not, leave and connect with a woman.
Okay. Woman, man. Okay.
Or vice versa. Man.
Right.
I'm thinking about myself.
Okay.
Because I connect with you, Charlie.
Great.
Wait
all
a
right.
minute.
You're not a child. This is totally different.
But I said a man.
Okay.
I'm talking about a man.
Okay.
Yeah, but you didn't say great. That great.
Great.
Yeah, that's a better great.
All right. So now we've talked about that. We've equipping your children, you number 4 in the relationship, and that means you're moving out of the spot that you thought you were number 1. They have God number 1, then they have their spouse number 2, then they have number 3 their children, and now here you are. So we talked about that. So how does it look for the parent now?
It's time to party, y'all. We got the house to ourselves. It's time.
Boy, men look at is so much different than women. Now, don't think that I'm grateful that is good that your children have moved on. You've slid, kind of pushed you out of the way, and they doing their own thing.
I'm over the party.
And I'm emotions.
Party. See, now I can do things in the house that I couldn't do.
That I guess we never get
Yeah, I can do some things.
Guess we never get there.
We ain't gotta stay in the bedroom anymore.
Yeah.
We can go in the kitchen.
Yeah, how are we gonna be with that?
The living room.
Children still at the house. Children still at the house. Yeah. That's a whole different conversation that has to wait.
Yeah, I can do some things.
Yeah.
We can be more creative, Charlie.
Right.
Yes,
but
creativity.
It's important that you prepare yourself to mentally, because I gave the example
mentally and emotionally.
And emotionally, yeah, especially emotionally, because I gave the example how that happened.
Man, we emotional.
For with my son, and then how strange that felt for him to. I'm not the first one he calls on Mother's Day or Valentine or any little special occasion. I didn't get that phone call. I didn't get a phone call till later. It was strange, but in the end, it was comforting, because that's what you want. You want to raise your children to be independent and have their own lives and know the order of established how it should be.
Yeah, keep that cycle going.
Right. Now, some people don't think that. Some people don't think that you should, that's your beliefs. But we're talking about equipping your children to moving you out of the way. You know,
I think in a biblical perspective,
biblical perspective, yeah.
I don't know how you go against that.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know how you do that, because naturally you want your kids, you want God in their lives, and if you want God in their life, that means God's going to be number one.
Right.
All right. Naturally, when you look at Genesis 2:24, it says that the man leads and cleaves with his woman and stuff. So there is no dispute for that and stuff. And naturally, when you have kids and stuff, you know, you're gonna put them ahead of your parents. So I don't know how you dispute those things.
Right.
I don't.
But even with all of that, the established order that we just talked about, is example. Our position as parents is to set that example so they can see and be able to.
That's the most important part.
Right, and to be able to model that
Right.
in their own way.
See what a godly relationship looks like.
Right.
And that should come from you.
Right.
And it should. And then
now we don't always get all of this right. You may have it not even started that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you just don't want to be the family that goes to church on a Sunday, and that's the only time that the kids would see God, any representation of God in the family.
Yeah.
And because for me, I think it sends a negative picture of church for the child, not for the adults that's going. And then to me, it kind of makes them not want to go, because that's all they see. As kids, they expose it so much, and church can be somewhat not enjoyable for kids.
Right.
It can. So, when they see that and that's all they do, they make, I don't want to go to church. I gotta go to church. I don't want to go, man.
I think at that point, really is when you need to kind of reevaluate what's going on or where you are.
Yeah, because you want God in your home. You want God in your life every day.
Yeah.
Okay. And you want to plant those seeds that could continue that. That'll be your generational cycle. Planting seeds that God's in our life. God's gonna be in my kids' life and stuff. And they may even get it wrong, or they may, kind of go a different direction. But most of the time, they come back to the foundation that was planted by the parents.
Right. That is true.
Yes.
That is true. And I think that it's never too late to be a good example of what it is. It's never too late to be a good example.
Because you can't go back in the past and do anything about that.
That's right.
All you got is the day and tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Right. Great. Thanks. That was great. So anything that you see that can go if it doesn't go that way, then what?
With some of the aspects of this transition is, when do you do these things?
Yeah.
There's no set time. Like I talked about, introduce your child to God. Or what age should I introduce your child?
Right.
Yeah. And that depends on, that family and that relationship. Okay. And when should kids get married, and when should the man lead the home and connect? That there is no certain age on that. Okay. But there is a certain age if they, like earlier I said, you fooling with your mom.
Right.
That's a bad
picture.
Do,
unless that's
live with your dad.
Unless that's what y'all want to do. That's your household. That's how you want. But I do think, like, if we don't establish a certain order, that's when we have problems.
Yeah.
That's when we have problems. And that's when that happens, when you may want your children to leave and they won't leave, Because
there's a lack of understanding.
You want them to be independent, and they won't be independent.
And then they won't understand that. And then they look at it negatively toward you, and you get upset. I'm trying to stay. You want me to leave? I don't want to stay. So yeah, but that's not the place you're trying to get to, because you can look at your own life. You're not with your parents. so why should that change when you have kids?
Right. What?
I'm saying, well, like, you got kids, right?
Right.
You're not with your parents now, right?
No, I'm not. No.
Right. And I'm not talking about you individual. I'm just saying. So naturally, you're not with your parents. Why you want your child to be with you as a parent?
Right. Well, it's just different, different ways. I remember I couldn't wait to get out and get on my own.
Yeah,
Of course,
because you're a bad girl. That's why them bad girls, they can't wait to get out. Man, I got to get up out of here because I got to do what I want to do.
Of course, I didn't understand or know anything about any type of order.
I said, I can't. I got to come back here to die. I would have stayed all night.
Right. I didn't know anything about any type of order, but got older and understand. You raise your children and see, how they want to be. How you, what's best for them.
Yeah.
And best for you.
Right. That is correct. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if you joined this conversation, we were talking about equipping yourself to be number 4 in your child's life. And actually what that just looks like is you actually moving out of the way and letting them live their life. They're putting God as number 1. Then they're putting their spouse as number 2 and children are number 3. And there you finally land at number 4. Might be a little bit different for some people.
You might be number 5.
Ooh. Who could be number 4?
They may consider like church number 4.
Oh, yeah. And we were talking about relationships, but
as long as you're not 1, 2, or 3, and you have a functional relationship with your family.
Anything, you can be replaced by anything. You can be replaced by, like you said, church. You can be replaced by a job. Yeah. You can be replaced by friends. Right. You can be replaced. Yes. And there are some people that they are attached to their children.
Right.
They act like they're in a relationship with them.
You got to be mindful that sometimes they'll put the kids before the spouse.
Right.
And they'll mess up that order and stuff. And that's why it's so important.
Well, that's a whole big other conversation too. Because you can ask some people and they will say, you ask them who comes first. Yeah, they'll say the child comes first. But in essence, did the child come first?
Yeah, because how did the child get here?
Yeah. But then I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's more so stated by people of
now if you single,
who are a blended family also.
Yeah. If you single, if you in an early blended family,
right?
Yeah, you can see some of that because you don't have a spouse,
right?
So naturally, your kids will come.
They've been here all this long time before, and that's a conversation we'll get in about step parenting and the dynamics about that. But there's a different view and outlook on that. Initially, it's not going to look like that. You're not going to be in that number 1 spot. You're not going to be in that 2 spot. You just ain't gonna get there,
because some people, leave God out of the equation.
That's right. That's why I said number 1.
Leave God out of the equation. And that's why it's so important, that you make that transition from 1 to 2 by introducing them to God, by reading the Bible, going to church and stuff, being around, people that talk about God and stuff, being around other kids that's doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, getting in and if you want, and if that's your desire, hopefully, and you get in a church where they have a good children's program or a teen program to expose them to wanting to know God and having that relationship around them. So that's good. Exposure is always great. That's our number 1 thing here. And then when we're talking about a spouse, the number 2, Ron explained about raising your son to understand and know what it means to cleave, your daughter, getting ready and preparing them for family. And then number 3 is the children. Then they have children on you. Then, of course.
Well, maybe you can be number 3. They just don't have no kids.
Yeah, I'll probably be that. I probably can sit number 3. But
I can't go to number 4. So the lowest I'm going to 3, so y'all can't have no kids.
Right. I have no problem moving out of the way for the grandchildren, right? So then now you're in a number 4 position. It's a very emotional thing, letting your children grow up and get their own lives, but it's also, it feels good. It's a sense of independence for you that you should embrace.
Yeah, because you can look back at that and be proud of what they are doing,
right,
and how their life is going. Especially that they are in a successful relationship and they're raising their kids and stuff. And those are powerful moments to see your kids doing those things.
Definitely. So if you joined the conversation, thank you. I did not look about my graphics, I'm sorry. My chat. It was in my chat. But if you join the conversation, thank you. We were talking about the order of established, equipping yourself, your child, you to be number 4 in your child's life, and basically talking about showing them examples, exposure. That was the main thing. God first, spouse second, children, and there you land at number 4. How's it look? Does it look like that in your relationship with your child? If so, why not? Do you think it should be different? We love to hear your comments about it so we continue the discussion maybe at another time. But leave us a message. You can actually respond to this feed or send us a message, on something else you want to look at. So great. We're about to wrap up. So we are here again, 5 p.m. Eastern, 3 Saturdays out of them. The last Saturday is left for our class, a premarital or marital training class that we conduct that will allow premarital people who are ready to get married. You can get $40 off of your marriage certificate. Send us a message so you can hear about it. Also, follow us on YouTube. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Mr. Willis, before we end for today?
Well, all families need a house, and the best way to have a house.
All families need a house.
The best way to have a house is to own it. Don't rent it, y'all.
Sometimes we have to rent, but that's okay.
So you need an assistant.
For now.
I'm real estate agent serving Augusta and Aiken County. If you need an assistant, just
Augusta and Aiken County.
Richmond County, Columbia County, Aiken County.
Forgot who he even served.
Serving real estate with I can't get my own saying.
Today.
Serving real estate needs with a passion.
Today,
tomorrow, years
to come. Thank you guys for joining this feed again, and thank you for your comments, your likes, and your shares. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Thanks, Mr. Carter. Bye-bye.